In India, the ancient system of caste continues to cast a long and dark shadow over millions of lives. This social hierarchy, which divides people into groups based on their birth, is supposed to be a thing of the past, but its reality is harsh and unforgiving. For those at the bottom, especially Dalits, life is a constant struggle against discrimination and violence. Understanding this issue is not just about looking at history, it is about confronting the difficult truths of our present. The numbers, when we dare to look at them, tell a story that many would prefer to ignore, a story of increasing vulnerability and persistent injustice in a nation that promises equality for all its citizens. The official data from the National Crime Records Bureau, or NCRB, paints a deeply troubling picture. For instance, the year 2022 saw a significant increase of over 9% in crimes committed against scheduled castes compared to the previous year. This is not just a random fluctuation, it represents a consistent and worrying trend that has emerged in recent years. These figures are more than just statistics. Each number represents a person, a family, and a community whose fundamental right to safety and dignity has been brutally violated. The steady climb in these reported crimes forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about the social and political environment we are creating. When we break down these numbers, the reality becomes even more grim. The reported incidents are not minor offenses. They include some of the most heinous crimes imaginable, such as murder, brutal physical assaults, and sexual violence against women and children. The data consistently shows that Dalits are disproportionately the victims of these violent acts. States like Uttar Pradesh often lead in the sheer volume of such atrocities, followed by other states where political power is consolidated. This regional concentration of violence suggests that the local administrative and political climate plays a crucial role in either protecting vulnerable communities or allowing their persecution to continue unchecked. It is also crucial to remember that these official numbers, as alarming as they are, likely represent only a fraction of the actual problem. Many experts and civil society organizations believe that a vast number of caste-based crimes go unreported. The fear of reprisal from powerful upper caste individuals, the lack of faith in the police and judicial system, and the social pressure to remain silent create a culture of impunity. A recent report documented that only 13% of hate crimes resulted in a formal police complaint, highlighting the massive gap between reality and official records. The truth, therefore, is probably far worse than the statistics suggest. Behind every statistic is a human story, a life irrevocably altered by hatred and prejudice. These are not abstract incidents happening in some distant land. They are happening in our villages and towns. Think of the infamous Hathras case in 2020, where a young Dalit woman was subjected to horrific violence and her life was cut short. Her family's agonizing quest for justice in the face of administrative apathy and threats became a symbol of the immense barriers that lower caste victims face. These high-profile cases capture national attention for a moment, but countless similar tragedies unfold every day in the quiet corners of the country, away from the glare of media cameras. The violence often erupts over the simplest assertions of dignity. A Dalit man can be attacked for riding a horse at his wedding, for drinking water from a public well, or for entering a temple. In 2021, a man in Rajasthan was lynched simply for setting foot inside a place of worship, a space supposedly open to all. These acts are not random. They are deliberate messages sent to entire communities to remind them of their supposed place in the social order. The goal is to enforce an age-old hierarchy through fear and intimidation, ensuring that the lines of caste division remain rigidly drawn and that any attempt to cross them is met with brutal force. The nature of these attacks has also become more organized and brazen. Mob violence, often fueled by rumors and political rhetoric, has become a terrifyingly common phenomenon. Allegations of cow slaughter have been used as a pretext to target and lynch Dalits and Muslims, blurring the lines between caste and religious persecution. During festivals, processions are sometimes rerouted to avoid Dalit neighborhoods, and when they do pass through, they can become occasions for conflict and assault. This pattern of violence shows a disturbing level of social sanction, where mobs feel empowered to act as judge, jury, and executioner, confident that they will face few, if any, consequences for their actions. This climate of fear has a profound and lasting impact on the daily lives of lower caste communities. It affects where they can live, what work they can do, and how freely they can move. Children grow up internalizing this fear, learning early on which parts of the village are safe and which are forbidden. The psychological toll of living under constant threat of humiliation and violence is immense, creating a cycle of trauma that is passed down through generations. The very fabric of social life is torn apart, replacing the possibility of harmony with a reality of segregation, suspicion, and deep-seated animosity. The violence we see on the surface is only a symptom of a much deeper systemic problem. The discrimination against lower caste people is woven into the very fabric of our society and institutions. Economically, a staggering number of Dalits continue to be trapped in poverty. A 2023 report highlighted that nearly 45% of Dalits live below the poverty line, a figure double the national average. They are systematically excluded from better-paying jobs and are overwhelmingly concentrated in manual labor, sanitation work, and other low-wage occupations. Access to land, credit, and business opportunities remains a distant dream for many, perpetuating a cycle of economic powerlessness. This systemic bias extends to the corridors of power and administration. When a Dalit person seeks justice, they often face a wall of indifference, if not outright hostility. Police stations may refuse to file a first information report under the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes, or SCST, Prevention of Atrocities Act, or they may water down the charges. The legal process is long, expensive, and intimidating, and perpetrators, who are often from influential upper caste backgrounds, use their social and political connections to evade accountability. Political leaders are frequently accused of downplaying the severity of caste crimes or even defending the accused, further normalizing the injustice. Furthermore, there is a severe lack of representation in almost every key sector of the country. As political leaders like Rahul Gandhi have pointed out, the vast majority of India's population, including Dalits, Adivasis, and other backward classes, have virtually no presence in the leadership of corporate India, the judiciary, the top tiers of the bureaucracy, or the national media. This absence is not accidental. It is the result of generations of exclusion. Without a seat at the table where decisions are made, the concerns and perspectives of these communities are never truly heard or addressed, allowing discriminatory systems to continue unchallenged. The cultural landscape also plays a role in reinforcing these hierarchies. In recent years, there have been efforts to rewrite history textbooks, often glorifying upper caste narratives while erasing or diminishing the contributions of Dalit leaders and social reformers like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The dominant political ideology, with its strong emphasis on a particular version of Hindu identity, can inadvertently strengthen upper caste ideals and further marginalize those who have historically been outside this power structure. This cultural marginalization makes it even harder for lower caste communities to assert their identity and claim their rightful place in society. The political environment of a country plays a significant role in either curbing or encouraging social evils. Under the current government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, critics argue that the rise in hate crimes and caste atrocities is linked to a political climate that has emboldened perpetrators. When leaders at the highest levels of government engage in divisive rhetoric or maintain a conspicuous silence following major incidents of caste violence, it sends a powerful message down the chain of command. A report covering June 2024 to June 2025 found that a significant number of documented hate speech incidents were attributed to individuals associated with the ruling party, suggesting a normalization of hate from the top. Government policies, while often framed as beneficial for all, can have unintended consequences that worsen the situation for marginalized communities. The focus on a monolithic national identity can sometimes overshadow the urgent need to address deep-seated social divisions like caste. Furthermore, the reluctance to conduct a comprehensive caste census, which would provide clear data on the socioeconomic status of different communities, is seen by many as an attempt to hide the true extent of inequality and deprivation. Without accurate data, it becomes impossible to design effective policies for affirmative action and social justice, leaving millions in a state of continued disadvantage. The struggle for justice is made even harder by the immense difficulty of reporting these crimes. Victims often live in the same villages as their attackers, who wield significant social and economic power. Reporting a crime can lead to social boycotts, loss of employment, and further violence against the victim's family. There is a profound lack of trust in the local police, who are often seen as biased in favor of the dominant castes. This systemic failure to provide basic security forces victims into a painful silence, allowing the cycle of violence to persist with impunity, and making the official crime statistics a pale reflection of the ground reality. In conclusion, the surge in crimes against lower caste people is not an isolated issue. It is deeply connected to systemic economic exclusion, political marginalization, and a social culture that is yet to free itself from the shackles of caste. The rising numbers from the NCRB, the heart-wrenching stories of violence, the institutional biases, and the political climate all point to a crisis that demands immediate and sincere attention. Ignoring this reality is not an option. For India to truly progress as a modern democratic nation, it must confront this uncomfortable truth and work tirelessly to ensure that justice, equality, and dignity are not just words in the Constitution, but a lived reality for every single citizen.